So listen, thanks a million for doing this, first of all.
Yeah, man.
I really appreciate you taking the time out. Um, do you drink a lot of coffee?
An inordinate amount of coffee, actually.
Oh, really? Are you
Yeah.
like picky, or are you just like shoving your head in a trough?
So I wasn't picky. So I didn't start drinking coffee until I was about 25. And all of a sudden, like I started drinking a lot of it. And then about a couple years ago, I was a partner in a coffee company
Oh,
and got very educated on the coffee space, beans, farms, how like the agricultural process works, the shipping and customs process works, and
hmm.
um, kind of what the bean does for that farm in that village. So I got really educated on it really quick. And so I became a bit of a coffee snob when I was in New York. And now that I'm in Texas, um, you don't get the same kind of variety, but I still enjoy my French press every morning.
Yeah. When did you move to Texas?
About a month ago.
How's that been?
Fantastic. I mean, we had a really bad like winter storm here,
Yeah.
and it was compounded with the fact that the state doesn't really know how to handle snow.
Yeah, it's not used to it, I guess.
Yeah, so that wasn't great, but other than that, it's been really really great. I work at a school here as well.
Oh,
So
cool.
I coach baseball and kind of run the program for a private school down in Austin.
Is that why you moved there?
I was going to move during COVID. I own affiliates in New York, and they were
Hmm.
just getting decimated. So I had a long conversation with my partner. Told him I was going to step back from the operations. He took over, and I was like, I'm just going to move to a different state that's a little more open, with a little more freedom, and I came down here. And it just so happened that I lined that job up.
Yeah. Um, a question that I like asking the guests that come on is for a coffee memory. I'm assuming if you've dabbled in owning a CrossFit company or a coffee company, there must be something that springs to mind there.
Oh yeah, the first time I went to a commercial roaster, um, the smell of the building, because it's essentially one big oven, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's got like 50 ovens kind of lined up, and the smell of that room is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Uh, all these different beans getting roasted at different temperatures, hearing the pop. So when it hits like a certain temperature, the bean kind of pops like popcorn, and that's how they know to like pull it. um, the aromas are just incredible, and seeing these guys like in their craft, like they do it by touch and feel, and and the coffee comes out exquisite, and like
Yeah.
that's really fresh coffee, right? And you get it right out of the roaster, and get to sample it on the spot, which was like a real treat for me.
Yeah. I always see Jason Kalipa has like a home like a little handheld home roaster. And like I've been like, oh, that'd be cool to do, but I know exactly what would happen if I got it. Like I'd be like, bit like drinking it with tears in my eyes, being like, no, it was definitely worth the investment. It's really nice. Like,
That's right.
do you listen to a lot of podcasts?
I do.
What are your go-to?
They range from political science to comedy to obviously a lot of CrossFit, a lot of sport.
And what brings you back for a second listen? If you've like say if is there something you look for in a show that's like, yeah, I'll go back to that.
An engaging host. I mean, someone who like if asking the right questions, commentaries,
Oh man, you're shit out of luck today.
and then audio quality. There was a series of books, the Red Rising series, and there was like a fan podcast that I got turned on to, but the first couple episodes, the audio was pretty horrendous, and I almost didn't go back. And then apparently they like sent out like something on Reddit saying like they got an audio engineer and
Yeah.
like solved the problem. But
It's funny though, it's so easy to fuck it up. Like it's so easy to like I've done calls before where like I have a little box that the mic goes through and stuff. And so I've done I'd say I did a week's worth of recordings, and I remember it was like a packed week. I was like ramming them in trying to get loads done. And for that entire week, my preferences on my Mac was set to internal mic, even
Oh no.
though I was hearing myself through this mic on the headphones because I don't know. I still don't know. I think the laptop was using the mic, but Zoom was using the internal mic. And I was like editing one of the episodes like about 2 weeks later. And I was like, why does it sound so shit? Like, what's wrong with it? And like, I'll never forget the feeling. It's similar to the feeling I've had where I've forgotten to record part of an episode and you just feel so sick. And it's like, but the only thing is, they're mistakes that you never repeat because as
Right.
soon as you catch it, it's the first thing you check is like, have I hit record? And then is it set preferences like every time? So I think,
That's how I feel about Fran, right? It's a mistake I'll never make.
yeah, I remember someone said, I can't remember who it was, but they were like, life keeps trying to teach you lessons until you learn from them. Like, it's just going to keep doing the same thing. You've appeared on a good few podcasts as well. Is that something that you enjoy doing? Like talking about yourself and what you've done and stuff?
Well, for me, it's a topic I know a lot about, right?
You're an expert.
Yeah. But I don't mind doing it. I like meeting new people, making new friends, and sometimes this is the medium to do it. And when there's like a message worth spreading, I think it's a good avenue to get the word out on.
Yeah. So like I was looking you up and I didn't realize that's why I stumbled so much when you said like, oh, I took a step back from the affiliates because I was like, fuck, will I ask him about it now or will I wait? Because I'm going to talk to him about it later on. So I decided to wait. But yeah, that really threw me. So like we'll get to WillyB and stuff in a minute. But did you always have an interest in fitness? Like, did you like play different sports growing up and stuff, or was CrossFit something that turned you on to physical activity?
So I was always into sport. So growing up, I played baseball, hockey. I swam a bit. But as it turned out, I was always in the gym too. I genuinely enjoyed working out, whether it was like, I don't want to call it bodybuilding, but like
Show
strength.
muscles.
Yeah, right. Well, it was like, you were training for performance, right? I was like working out for like sport specific. And my mom had taught she was a fitness instructor, taught every class from Zumba to yoga to Pilates. And so it was just kind of growing up. She was always going to the gym. So I would just go with her. And so she would teach her class. I would, lift some weights. And so I'd been exposed to the gyms for as early, I think, as like maybe 14 years old, 12 years old. So I'd been in there and I genuinely enjoyed being in there. Like I felt really good. It was a place that always made me feel good. It was really a sociable place for me. And I hated running. So I was like, okay, this is the form of exercise I can do and I feel good about it. Which eventually parlayed into how I found Metcons prior to CrossFit. I would say, okay, I'm going to do these 5 movements and I'm going to try to get 100 reps of each, but I'm going to break them up like this. So, as a CrossFitter, you're like, oh, well, yeah, that's, 5 rounds of 20, right? And you're going to do it for time. I would never articulate it like that then, but I was doing Metcons, kind of on the jump and getting funny looks at, your classic, bodybuilder gym. And as an athlete, I always liked practice and training more than I liked the game. I don't know why, but it always suited me. And I thought, that's a little different. Maybe, I got like a screw loose or something. But when I found a CrossFit gym for the first time, I was like, oh, the workout is the game. It's a lot of fun for me. Like whether I was winning or losing, I enjoyed the push.
Did you enjoy the open then? If you don't enjoy the competitive aspect or the end result of the competition,
as an athlete, I hate the open.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a professional, right? So I know that I'm not going to the next level. And it's like, for me, I get like really anxious for no reason, right? It's one workout in a year of thousands. So I get anxious for absolutely no reason. But as an affiliate owner, it's the best week of the year. It's the best, couple weeks of the year, right? And I like what the open does in terms of like benchmarking your fitness, right? So I like going back to 2015 or whatever and seeing like, oh, this is where I landed. And then 2016, I was like, oh, I marginally improved. And watching your fitness kind of creep up relative to your peers over time, I think is a really beautiful and elegant part of what CrossFit is.
Yeah. You worked on Wall Street then, is that right?
I did.
What was your job there?
I worked on a trading desk for Credit Lyonnais, and it was interesting.
Is that like just shouting like, buy low, sell high, like over and over
Uh,
again?
there was a lot of shouting, but yeah, but it was so they were a brokerage for, they would sell stocks to hedge funds. So we weren't calling it wasn't like boiler room, like Wolf on Wall Street, but it was an aggressive environment, which I enjoyed. I was surrounded by some really intelligent people. So I got to learn a lot. The first couple of years I worked there, I don't think I said a word. You know, my first day, the person sitting next to me was like, "Congratulations, you're the dumbest person in this room." And it took me about 4 seconds to realize that she was absolutely right. And I didn't speak for like a whole year. And I learned a ton. I learned a ton. It really sharpened my math skills, really sharpened my, quick twitch, like analytics. And so I really enjoyed my time there. It was super stressful. And I realized that my job was going to be, I wasn't great at it, right? I was marginal and I could be replaced very quickly by someone who was infinitely smarter than I. So when I realized that was the case, I decided to make a pivot. And, a few years later, it started, was in fitness full time. That wasn't really the plan. I was going to go to business school and, kind of reassess everything and maybe go back to work and do something different. But I never thought fitness was going to be the way I made a living. But I'm really happy it was.
How did you fall into it then? Like, how did it, if it's, because it's obviously something that I guess training was on your radar, but like working in that environment wasn't. So how did it become how did it become a blip on your radar?
Yeah. So while I was, living in New York City, I always loved taking spin class, like indoor cycling. And one day I told my roommate, I was like, I didn't really love the instructor. And I was complaining about it. And he's like, well, if you think you do better, just do it yourself then. And it got me thinking. I was like, okay. I gave it a shot and I wasn't half bad at it. And I had worked my way into one of the bigger cycling companies in the country. And that provided me an income while I went to business school. So it gave me, an opportunity to kind of, stay active, keep working out, keep training, and make money while I was in business school so I wouldn't get buried in debt. And so I was fortunate for that opportunity. That parlayed into a couple more opportunities like within the New York City fitness area. All the while I was still training in CrossFit. And my first workout buddy, the guy I would, pair up with for every 5 o'clock class, decided to move. And when he moved to another neighborhood that didn't have a CrossFit gym, he called me a couple, months later. He's like, we should open a gym. I told him no. He was persistent. And, a few months later, we opened our first affiliate.
Like, what was it about owning an affiliate that appealed to you? Like, because obviously it's a big jump to make from coaching to.
None of it was appealing to me. I did not want to be in that space. I knew kind of the obstacles, like operationally, what we're going to, like the hurdles that we were going to have to jump to build that business into something that was successful. He had a longer term vision. I was thinking like very short term, like I was going to go back to work. Like I didn't want this to be like my side project. And when I told him, I was like, if we're doing this, like we have to go all in, like, let's just, give it a real try. Which he was very enthused about. And, I didn't think that working for myself was going to be something that I really wanted to do. But I really enjoyed, like after a couple of weeks of it, like, oh, like the fruit of my labor is bearing, my seeds. So I really, really, really enjoyed working for myself. And, seeing like the decisions that I was making being impacted on a daily basis, as opposed to working at a bigger corporation where like, if you don't show up for 2 weeks, like they may not even notice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
that was attractive.
How long after you opened the first location did a second location become something that was like, oh, we should keep going and do another one?
So the second location opened 6 months after the first one. We quickly ran out of floor space. So for us, we opened like a couple blocks down the road, was just kind of to give us more square footage. So we looked at it as one business that just had two kind of small locations.
Okay.
And then about a year after that, we opened our third. And then a year after that, we bought our fourth. And then a year after that, we bought our fifth.
Bought, you mean you took over something that was already
Yeah,
there?
we acquired 2 gyms. Yeah.
Okay. So like 5 locations, like is that common in New York? Is that something that like you'd commonly see that many locations?
That's not, I don't think that's common in the world,
That's what I was
right?
thinking. But I
Yeah, I
thought
mean,
like New York is crazy, so maybe I missed something.
yeah, no, there's a few guys that have multiple locations. We had big plans to really expand, and we had an interesting business model that was gaining a lot of traction. The pandemic obviously curbed that, and we had to downsize from the 5 affiliates that we owned to 3, which was unfortunate. But I guess, you know, that happens in business sometimes. But yeah, so it was uncommon. We had a really, really good operational model. We were very good at the sales piece and like working the pipeline from, you know, not just getting people into the door, but like showing them that CrossFit's a very effective way of getting healthy,
Yeah.
and they don't need to be, you know, some, you know, professional athlete to benefit from this programming. So we went away from like the uber alpha high competitor nature of it all, and try to capture like the bigger area under the bell curve. And that's kind of who we marketed to, people who probably traditionally wouldn't have been marketed to by CrossFit.
And like, did you start doing that at the start, or was that like did you get to a certain point where you were like, shit, we're not getting the numbers in, we need to change what we're doing?
We were getting steady numbers. We weren't like stacking the cash at that point.
Mm.
We were, you know, breaking even. It was an okay business, right? And then some guy was trying to sell us a program, a sales program, and kind of pitched us an idea on how to implement it. And we were hesitant, but then we did more research and we were like, oh, he's onto something, but I don't think that idea is the right way to go about it. So we went out and got a couple of different tools and learned how to do, you know, Instagram ads and Facebook ads, and kind of taught ourselves the click funnel on like getting people like into the door, like lead generation. And then we did a lot of work on teaching ourselves like how to sell gym memberships properly.
So if you could go back to, we'll say when you guys bought that first location, is there something that you like? What's the one piece of advice that if you had like one sentence to give yourself, like what's the one piece of advice you would now give yourself starting out?
Don't take it too personally. I used to get heartbroken when someone would cancel their membership or told me they hated a workout, or I took it, or like the gym wasn't clean enough, or whatever the case may be, or CrossFit wasn't for me. I used to take it so personally. It used to keep me up at night. You know, I would constantly be looking at membership numbers. I was sweating the wrong little stuff early on, and I would have told myself like, take a breath. Like people are going to come and go. Like you're doing the right thing. Like, you know, you are, and don't, you know, fiddle the whole model for, you know, one person who just didn't like doing air squats.
um, is there like is one of the locations like home then? Like, is there one that you kind of focused? Like, I assume a point came where you had to stop coaching, like where you didn't have the time anymore. But is there one that you still kind of drifted towards more than the others?
I wouldn't. No, they're all like very special to me for different reasons, right? Like my business partner and I were very hands-on in the construction of the 3 that we built.
Mm.
And we were very hands-on on the renovations on the other 2. So we have like deep personal ties and have like different experiences in each of those locations. I trained more so at one location than the other. So I spent a lot of time in our third location versus the other ones. But you know, our first location has like some amazing memories. You know, my business partner's son was born on our 1-year anniversary party like there. And I remember getting that call, you know, that he had to leave that party, right? Because his son was being born. And my family threw my 30th surprise birthday party in that gym. And I had no idea that it was happening. You know, and I remember staining the, we had a backwood drop that we, that took forever to do on like the hottest day of the year. And like, you have these like memories of blood, sweat, and tears. So in each of them, so it's like asking, which kid do you like the best? You love them all, right?
So like when you have to step away from that then, or when you make the decision to step back and move, like everything you're saying there speaks of like love and like, how much like time and energy and money was invested into it for you. So like it must have been an incredibly difficult decision to land at.
It ruined me. I was really tortured by the idea that I even could conceive to do this. Um, the intellectual side of my brain said like, there's the sunken cost fallacy, and that you can't really make decisions on your future based on, what's already sunk.
Yeah.
And, you don't, hope is not a strategy, right? So I couldn't hope that New York was going to be all of a sudden better and they were going to lift all these restrictions and hope that business would go back to normal. So I needed to be a little more pragmatic. And when I removed myself from the situation and said, well, what kind of advice would I give my buddy in a different state? That's the advice I heeded.
Yeah. So is it purely like you step back, so there's one person, thus more likelihood of the business surviving, and then you can find something else to do? Is that the logic?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we downsized, my business partner, who's a very, very intelligent dude, he's been around gyms his whole life, and I'm confident that he's going to do a great job. I just want to, step out of the way and, make sure he can execute on whatever he needs. And, but I'm confident that the business will survive. It won't be the enterprise that it was in 2019. Hopefully maybe one day in the future it gets back there. But for the time being, it's going to be a really small operation. And, hopefully it continues to, stay afloat and, be a staple of Williamsburg and Lower Manhattan the way it has been for the last couple of years.
Yeah. So I guess when you make a big change like that, like usually a door opens somewhere, but I guess you like kind of kicked in your own door.
That's the story of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. So up next then I guess was like clothing companies start, like, every week there seems to be something new starting up. What was it that made you see this as a viable option, and something that, like, was there a gap in the market that you saw, or was there something, I guess, maybe a void you thought you could fill with your ideas?
Well, I don't know if there was a void, right? It was this, I've known the guys from 10,000 for a long time, and they were, not my like first friends in the fitness space, but they were pretty close, right? I got to meet the founder when I was, just starting out as a gym owner. He needed to like, I tell the story all the time because I think it's just funny. He needed to rent the space for a photo shoot and just like paid me in shorts instead of cash. And, we became fast friends. He's a good dude. They make a great product. And when COVID hit, we were just chit chatting about, doing workouts and like missing our friends and getting back into the gym. And, we would text about workouts and we'd be like, oh, who had a better time? And I'm like, all right, let's do this. Right. Like, let's actually do it. So we were texting back and forth and, with a bunch of the community of 10,000. And then the guys at the corporate office got word of it. We're like, let's put up some cash for it. And I was like, okay, that sounds awesome. But I was like, if we do that, let's do it right. So a few meetings happened, and like all of a sudden, they bring me on to, help out run this competition. And it's great, right? The idea is to drive people back into the gym, right? Because as an affiliate owner or even a gym member, right, that first night of the open, like that Friday night, is like the best night of the year,
Yeah.
And we were just trying to recreate that, right? Give
Yeah.
people a reason to jump back into their community. So one thing led to another. They created a kind of a position for me to kind of run this side of the business. Like, my portfolio is essentially all things CrossFit. So, I get to work with our CrossFit athletes, which is incredible, right? We get to work with, so Brandon Luckett, Scott Tetlow, Tim Paulson, Cody Anderson, and Sean Sweeney have all kind of come on board recently to help us with this initiative. And that's been so much fun. And I also run we do a gym sponsorship program. So we're trying to give back to the affiliates and their communities, and, support them in ways that other brands may have feigned to try to do in the past, but were never really successful.
What is it that you think sets Tenthousand apart from other companies, other clothing companies?
So I think it's a few things, but I think it all kind of ties into one. The company was founded on the idea that, like, they wanted to do one thing really well, right? Was create the best training short out there. And it stemmed from, the two founders were like on Nike.com, just trying to buy a pair of shorts. One pair is $25, one pair is $75. There's all these different fabrics and cuts, and like, there's no help, right? You're like, well, why is this $25 and this is $75 or $100?
I've been stung by that before. Like, my coach had a pair of Nike shorts, and I was like, what shorts are they? They're nice. Like, and he gave me he said, they're called whatever. Went on, bought a pair of shorts, came entirely different. I obviously just clicked the wrong thing. Like, but yeah, no, I've been stung by that.
And so, they were like, let's make it really simple. They don't need to be flashy colors, but let's make the fabric really great. Let's make them durable. Let's make them the best training short we can make. And they did. And I think they succeeded. And I was always a proponent of, like, if you're going to do, one thing, do it really well before you go on and do the second thing. Right. And they've taken that mentality of like, okay, well, they nailed the first pair of shorts. Then they tried a second pair of shorts for a different modality and crushed it, and so on and so forth. And that's kind of how their product lines come on, right? That's why we don't have a women's line yet, right? Is that, it's a company started by two dudes. They know nothing about women's wear. They're not going to pretend to know anything about women's wear, right? They're not going to fake it, but they know a lot about training shorts. And they're starting to, perfect it. And so that's the first part that separates them. The second is that these people like live the life that they talk about, right? This is not just some mantra, the better than yesterday is not just some like thing they say in the office. They mean it, right? And they hold themselves to that standard. And there's something about like an authenticity when it comes right from the top all the way down through all their employees that you can just feel it. That, and they're good dudes, right? And I say that through a unique lens, because I get to work with them every day. Obviously, I don't know the people at Nike or Noble, and I'm sure there are some good people in that organization. But for me, I think it's all in the same, right? They work hard, they mean what they say, and they deliver on their promise. And I think that's what makes them the premier training gear probably in the world.
Wow, that's a statement and a half.
Yeah.
I guess I sort of became aware of it when I saw, so like Tim and Brandon and Cody have all been on the show. So I kind of, I guess, biased towards them when I'm looking at my Instagram feed. I'll slow down when I see their names come up. But yeah, I saw them posting about it, and like I started looking into it, and there's a huge amount of people involved, like people who have like, tested stuff, and like are, I guess, like sponsored athletes or whatever, or people who work with the company. I guess it is insane how many people are involved.
It really is. And I was kind of surprised when I looked at their original athlete roster. We have, guys that are mixed martial artists and strongmen and triathletes and, marathoners. And, those are the sponsored athletes. But then when I look at like our core demo, everyone's doing, functional fitness or cross training, or however you want to say CrossFit without saying CrossFit, right? Or some variation of functional varied movements done at, high intensity. So, this comes up often with us, internally, and we decided that we really should make a push. I'm again biased because I love CrossFit, but to make a push into the space. And I was like, they were like, well, how hard would it be to, get these guys on board? And I was like, the one thing about CrossFitters that's different than other professional athletes is that these guys are normal people, right? They're not on a pedestal. They haven't been like praised since high school about being the next coming, where you could see in, basketball or football. And so like, I don't know, we'll DM them and see if they're down. So like we made a list of, and being a fan of the sport, right? Listen to podcasts like yours and other interview shows, like, who the good guys are in the business. And I just shot him a note and said, hey, like, this is what we're doing. This is what we're trying to do. I'd love to send you some stuff. And if you love it as much as I do, let's continue the conversation. And that's kind of how it started. We only spoke to a handful of guys and they all said yes. And, kind of validates our thesis that our stuff really does perform well under like the scrutiny that they're going to put it through. So having them on board has been, one, it's just a pleasure to like obviously make new friends, but two, like work with guys who are really dialed into their craft and their training. And so that's been a really like fun part of this experience.
Yeah. Tell us about the I don't know, is initiative the right word, but the work initiative or the work branch of 10,000 then?
Yeah. Project Work is the competition series, right? So it's $0 to enter, right? There's a $5,000 cash purse for the top 10. And again, it's meant to just drive people into the gym. So we want to recreate that first night of the Open once a month. And so every month it starts anew. The competition, it doesn't, you
like
sign up
$5,000 a month.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. These guys like meant it, right? We wanted to, we wanted to bring people back into the gym. We thought this was like a really interesting way of doing it. And that's for like we know that like a cash purse like that's going to bring the pros. For everybody else, like myself, like I'm not a professional, right? I want the affiliate that I'm with to be involved, right? And if they sign up, 20 plus people and they, their high performer can qualify to win like a cool pack, a gear kit from us. And Samsung Equipment has come out and said that they'll send stuff out to, gyms with the best performance overall and all that stuff. So, that's been really cool. But what really is that we're going to do one open style workout once a month, $5,000 cash purse kind of winner. That's it. It's one event, video submission, open standards kind of apply, so there's a video component to it. We have the standards listed out to get through with all the malfeasance and I'm the judge, right? So I'm not going to, I'm going to scrutinize the tape, as much as the next judge will.
So at the end of every month, you'd be like, yeah, does this guy Jared keeps winning everything?
Right. Well, because I've written the workouts, I've excluded myself from the competition.
So do you program each month then?
Yeah. So I've programmed out the first 7, and then we're going to ask our sponsored athletes to take a crack at it in the months thereafter.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that.
Well, and we have some, guys who, do have their own programs, right? So, Tim has Forged by Zeus. Sean's got the Cowboy Way. These guys are not just CrossFit Games athletes. They're, they're really dialed in, and I think they'd write some really great workouts.
Yeah, I remember when I saw Tim originally. He put up that he was going to start working with you, and I was like, I messaged him saying like, congrats or whatever. Because it's always nice when you see someone, I guess, like starting something new. And his reply like genuinely kind of buzzed a little bit with kind of, I don't know what you call it, like that kind of effervescence or excitement or whatever. He was like, "No, I'm seriously pumped to be doing this." And I kind of feel like if it was just something else and I said it, he'd be like, "Thanks," but like it just seemed like a more genuine reaction, I guess. And I suppose it's because it's that thing of like people. It always seems to mean more when it's people from within the community that start something and grow it within the community rather than someone, I guess from the outside saying like, "Oh, there's an opportunity to make money there," and like coming in, like, starting something different, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And, part of that was like, like we talked about, like the good guy test, like we didn't approach, any of the athletes saying like, here's an interesting way for you to make a lot of money. That like wasn't our approach. And we don't want that to be our approach, especially with the guys that we work with. We said like, this is what we're about. Here's the gear, like fall in love with this first, and then we can talk about how to work together.
Yeah.
And all those guys were super receptive to that message and obviously love the gear and kind of understood like that we're trying to get people back into the gym, right? As CrossFitters, we know that like, chronic disease is right around the corner and being, when you're at your fittest, you're usually not your sickest.
Yeah.
And, you know, this being like a public health, you know, PSA, you know, they kind of got that, right? They were like, yes, let's get people moving again. Like, here's the initiative. This will get people excited, like, to rally around the gym, to rally around their fitness, you know, and just have some positivity in their life when, you know, like Tim's in upstate New York, you know, it's snowy, it's dark, the state's locked down, right? Like, you know, you could easily, you know, start slipping into, you know, not training and eating poorly, but, you know, this is something to rally around and, you know, give people something to like really look forward to.
Yeah, I think like you mentioned earlier on how the first Friday of the Open is the one, you know, where everyone's really excited. And I think it's because you've got that like naive hope that it's like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
this is my year. And then like by the second Friday, you're like, nah, I fucked it again. So I
Yeah.
think the fact that this resets every month, I think is a nice like little, you know, you'll always have that excitement every time. So I like that. That's good.
Yeah, that was kind of the plan. And we realized that like the pros were going to, you know, sit atop of this leaderboard. And, you know, on our site, we kind of have a running tally. Lazar Ducic out of Serbia won the first two and like was pretty close on the third one. So we decided like to toy with the leaderboard a little bit. So, but it, you know, that's just for fun, right? We have, you know, we reset the leaderboard every month. And I think it's really exciting for the inter affiliate leaderboards, right? You
Yeah.
know, we work with Competition Corner, so you can, you know, sort by, you know, CrossFit Power Stroke and see how many of, you know, Sean's guys did it and how they performed. And I think that's always like really exciting to see how you like stack like in your gym and in your community as well.
Yeah. It like, can you see it growing into something else? Like, can you see it growing, say, when things get back to normal into like a physical in-person event or anything?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had this discussion internally that like, so the founder asked me to put together a wish list. He's like, blue sky scenario, what do you want to do? And like, I remember it was 2 years ago, Rogue had their invitational,
Mhm.
and it was just masterfully done, right? It was just from a streaming perspective, like watching it was really cool. The events were awesome. The space looked really cool. I was like, we can do that, right? Let's do that. Let's invite the top, like if you finish in the top 10 more than 4 times in our year, right? You get invited to the 10,000 invitational, and we'll put up like a really big prize purse. And like, so that was kind of the idea, right? And obviously as things play out and we get a little more data behind, you know, who's participating and who's signing up and kind of how CrossFit has their season and what their off season is going to look like.
Yeah.
I think that's something that this could very easily morph into.
I guess it gives you hope as well. So like, I mean, today, this is going to date the episode now, but today, Noble signed up as the lead sponsor for the CrossFit Games. So it was like the Noble CrossFit Games. But I mean, like, as a smaller starting out kind of company, that has to give you a hope of like, well, shit, if they can do it within whatever, however many years that was, like, there's hope because it's not just going to be now Reebok and Nike. You know, there are room for other companies.
Oh, absolutely. And I there's some pieces from Noble that I absolutely adore. And they've done a great job of, you know, bringing on athletes and getting really involved in the community. Um, I always figured that there's a lot of space for the best to excel, right? So, you know, we pride ourselves, we are the best training short, bar none, period. No one can compete with us in that world, right? Our hurdle is getting people to know
Try
that.
it. Yeah.
And so when I see, you know, a company like Noble coming in and, you know, putting up the cash and, you know, making a splash, they're saying, watch out, guys, like there's more coming, right? And I think that they're breaking the dam. And I think that's gonna, you know, let more players into the space.
Yeah. Um, so you said at the start there that you've moved to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and did you join? So are you a member of an affiliate in Texas now?
I am at South Lamar CrossFit. Yeah.
What's that like walking in the door as like a Joe Soap and not the big hefe coming in?
Uh, Relaxing. You know, after the first like couple days, you realize like little things aren't your problem, right? Like, you know, as an affiliate owner, like you realize, you know, like the toilet paper's out or the workout on the board is you got a typo or, you know, things like that, like where you're just like, as a member, like I don't really care. Right. And I just like, I don't even bother pointing out. It's like not my business. I'm just here to enjoy myself and work out and be a member of the community. And it's very relaxing, to be honest. There's no stress when I walk in and out of the gym. I am in and out in an hour. And I never thought that would feel so nice.
Yeah. Do they ever like or do other box owners ever approach you and be like, what would you think of doing this as an idea? Or like, are you kind of a sounding board for people?
Yeah, I get that quite a bit actually. Even the gym I'm at now, we'll chat about industry stuff, or he's talking about putting a rig in, and where the layout would go and membership tiers, and I'm always happy to give advice when it's solicited, and take it or leave it, and just one man's opinion. But yeah, and I love talking about it, right? I love owning gyms. Like
Mm.
it is a lot of fun. It was the best job I ever had, right? So I love talking about it, and I love learning from other people what they're doing, and seeing different parts of the country that different strategies work in different ways.
Yeah. What sport did you say you were coaching? Baseball, was it?
Yes,
How do you find that?
it's interesting. We have coaching kids versus coaching adults is obviously very different.
Yeah.
Um,
What age
the
group is it?
high school, so 14 years old to 18 years old.
And is it like serious? Is it intense, or is it like
They
not
they play in
recreational, but
they play in an intense conference. But this, the skill level varies, right? We're probably not going to finish too high in the standings this year. But we have a very young team. They have a lot of athletic ability. But I'm here to, make sure, one, they have fun and they stay safe, and two, raise their baseball IQ a little bit. And hopefully by the time, that they're seniors, we have a really formidable, really formidable club.
yeah, I can never understand baseball. I went to a game. We were in Chicago a couple of years ago, and I went to a game, and I didn't realize. So I don't know what I thought would happen when you go to a game. Like I kind of thought it was like, going to a soccer match or whatever, where it was like you are sitting in seat A12, and then you just go, and your seat is there, and you find it. But it's literally like first come, first serve. So
Oh,
like,
you said it in the bleachers at Wrigley Field.
yeah, and it was just I
Oh,
was just like, and my wife was like,
that's a unique experience.
yeah, like my wife was like, reasonably heavily pregnant at the time, and like it was baking hot.
Yeah.
Like it was just like so, and it went on for fucking hours, and we didn't get a seat, so we were like standing at a wall, and I just kept saying to my wife, like, do you want to just go home, or just go back, like, because this is like you can't even see over the wall. And she was just like, no, it's fine, I don't mind waiting. And it was just like, yeah, I'll never forget that experience. And then like essentially I watched a baseball match on a TV that was really far away.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm the right person to be discussing baseball, but there's a lot of cheering and stuff. I just didn't know what people were cheering at or for. And then I kind of got talking to a guy beside me, and every time I ended up just pissing him off. So anytime anything would happen, I'd be like, "What? Why is everyone so annoyed at that?" And he'd be like, "Oh, well, that's what." Like at the start, he's really enthusiastic. He's like, "I'm going to take this guy under my wing and explain it to him." Then after a while, he's just like, "He lost," and I just like, yeah. Um, is it something that you think you'd like to get back into, the say like coaching CrossFit specifically, or do you think that that's maybe a closed chapter?
I'm not ready to close the book yet. I still have a lot of coaching left to do. I genuinely enjoyed coaching CrossFit when I did it.
Mm,
It's very rewarding, especially being a CrossFit coach is very different than coaching, you know, like any other fitness modality, right? Because you can see those athletes kind of grow and improve over time, right? You get that space as a coach, um, and I don't think that chapter is over for me yet. But you never know, right? I never thought I'd leave New York, right? I
mm.
never thought I'd move to Texas. Never thought I'd be coaching baseball, but but here we are. So I'm never one to like, seal my fate or make any predictions.
Yeah, it's remarkable, really. Like if you went back to the guy in Wall Street and you were like, "Here's what's going to happen," like
Right.
he'd surely be like, "What the fuck are you talking about, man?"
Yeah. He would look at me sideways. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you find coaching CrossFit like you know? like I guess as an affiliate owner as well, like did you find it stressful as in like a new plane of stress? Because I know I spoke to Eamon Coyne a while ago and he stopped coaching and he just said he found it like he was just always on and always like anxious. Like, before at last he'd be worried that something will go wrong or that he will misexplain something or that he's left something out or that he will leave something out. And he just said it was just draining all the time.
Um, there was, how do you explain this? So when your hobby becomes your career, it's a job, right? And there's no
Mm.
dressing that up, right? And it becomes less fun on a day-to-day basis. Um, I made the mistake of being the owner who coached all the classes for the whole gym all the time.
Mm.
And then obviously, like when you scale up, that you can't do that, right? And then things start to slip. So as we started to grow, I started coaching less and less, which made the classes that I did teach like special for me, and that was like my fun time. Where like your phone's away, you're not worried about customer emails, you're not worried about anything else. You can just like be a coach and make sure people are moving safely and having fun. But yeah, you are always on, and especially when you're in the gym, like people are seeking you out, whether you're coaching or not coaching. Um, that has its good and its bads, right? But as a job as a whole, like I genuinely loved it, and I don't know anyone who has a job that they don't stress a little bit about. I was just happy that I could go to work in sweatpants every day and talk about the clean and jerk and back squat loading and ring muscle up progressions, right? Those are things that like get me excited. So I was always very happy to go to work, even if it was at 5 o'clock in the morning and I wasn't getting home till 10 and I still had to mop the floors. Like I enjoyed it. It was a labor of love.
Yeah. Um, what's coming down the pipeline then? Can you give us any sneak peeks of what 10,000 are working on then? Is there like, are they going to do like a shoe or are they going to do like I don't know, a hat?
We have a hat. And it's like, so I have the first 10,000 hat that they like came off the line. And I wear it for every workout I do. And it's disgusting. So if you ever look on my Instagram, like that's what I'm wearing. And no matter how many times I wash it, like it's like stained. It's getting pretty gross. And so they have a hat, but so it's coming down the pipeline for 10,000. We're working on, so they break out their apparel into kind of three buckets: in workout, pre-workout, and post-workout. So in workout, they've got the 5 shorts. So they have a set short, which is like for triathlons. They have a tactical short, which is for special operators and tactical workouts. There's the interval short, which is my personal favorite, which is like a CrossFit short for all intents and purposes. They have a session short, which I like to wear for like monostructural work. So if I'm running or biking, or it's a great lightweight short. And then the foundation short, which is a much more durable. I do my Olympic lifting in it. It's my coaching short because it's got really like cool pockets and a fun tie. And then they have their lines of workout shirts, right? That go from like durable, like heavier duty, a versatile, which is like kind of the mix, and then a lightweight, which is more of your techie sweat wicking fabric. They've moved into the recovery space. They just came out with a merino wool like sweatpant and sweatshirt for post workout. It's probably the most comfortable thing I've ever worn. So I'm trying to get my hands on more of them. But they have a mid-tech hoodie and a jogger that like I wear I'm wearing them now. Like they're great. And I think what's coming next is going to be the kind of like warm-up gear. So like your base layers for like maybe a vest for running, like a 3-inch like marathon style short, some more base layer stuff like a thicker interval pant. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, and this is my personal request, was that they come out with a jacket. So they haven't really told me if that's happening yet, but
There's been nods and winks.
There's been nods and winks, and I'm not really on the product side, so they usually kick me out of those meetings.
Get this guy that keeps talking about jackets out of here.
Yeah, that's right. I've asked for a beanie forever, so maybe that's coming.
Yeah. Well, listen, we'll finish with a quick fire
Yeah.
before we go. So, espresso or pour over?
Pour over.
Snatch or clean?
Clean.
Deadlift or bench?
Deadlift.
Baseball or CrossFit?
Ooh. Oh, probably CrossFit.
Gymnastics or cardio?
Gymnastics.
Strength or endurance?
Strength.
Okay, and then as you said yourself, blue sky thinking. You've got your pick of the athletes to bring in to 10,000. Who would you eye up?
So I'm really happy with the guys I got now.
Oh yeah, blah blah blah. Yeah, we know all that. Yeah, they're great.
I was really happy with my blue sky list. So I
Yeah.
did make a blue sky list. The one guy that we didn't get that I wanted to get was Tyler Christoffel. He is just a genuinely good human being. Him and I have become friends through this process.
Yeah.
And he ended up signing with Noble, which is like pretty exciting for him. He had been affiliated with the brand for a while, but through the process, I really got to know him, and I consider him a friend. So he would have been the next guy on the list that I really wanted to bring on.
Yeah.
But I'm a fan of the sport. So like, because there's no like real rivalry, like I don't like one guy because he
Yeah.
beats another guy. I like them all, and I always think they're all Superman. So getting to work with any of them is actually just a lot of fun, just bouncing ideas off of them. And like, I text, Sean Sweeney about training every day. I'm like,
Yeah.
I do this. And he's like, maybe you could have done it a little faster, or, something like that. But yeah, no, we, because this is new, we really, the honest answer is we made a list of six guys, and we got to sign five of them.
Yeah.
So I felt really lucky and fortunate that, our product kind of spoke to them, and they want to be a part of it.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I think like, we'll finish off by saying, I suppose, like the what would you call it? Like the mission statement of the company is like, it's something that I admire, and I think the tagline is cool. Like 10,000 hours to become an expert, and 10,000 feet to see a different perspective, and 10,000 miles. Like it's got a nice ring to it, and it's well put together. And I think it's something that I guess people would be curious about when they hear 10,000. They'll be like, why is it called that? Like, I know that's what I did. And I hunted it out, and I was very satisfied with the answer. Like, I think it's a good piece of I guess company history and marketing and stuff. It's nice, I think. But yeah, look, thanks a million for coming on, and I'm excited to see what happens with the 10,000 Invitational. Hopefully that's something that you can make work. And I think, as you say, what you're doing for the sport and what you're doing for the affiliates, like the different options that are there for people to get involved, and the different avenues for people to get involved in, either at the top and have a chance of earning some serious cash every month, or just a group getting together and being in with a chance of earning something. I think it's a great initiative, and it's something that we need to see more of, I think.
Well, thank you. And I hope people, flock to it in droves, and can get back in the gym, and, stay healthy and move well.